Okay, so some people might be wondering where I was over the weekend. So I kind of like had a little bit of a rough Friday. But also as a bonus, I got my first ever YouTube payment. What I did was I decided, you know what? I've got the weekend off work. I've been working my butt off for so long. So we decided to go to the zoo, and we had a wonderful time. It was great. And then the next day we went for a day out at the beach, and that was lovely, and it totally like recharged my batteries. It was just what we needed, and now we're back at it. We're making videos again. Also, I did want to add in there that I bought myself a little tie clip, and I think in freedom money it was about $4, but like I've always wanted one, so like I'm kind of happy with myself. I feel like I look a little bit snazzy. Now back to the video. Here we go. So I read a comment under one of my last videos that the very first video that I ever experienced the Fat Electrician. It did send me down a rabbit hole, and he's got another channel which is called the Fat Files, which actually I find that very interesting as well. But there was one of the comments that I read on that video that said react to World War III. And then I read it again, and it said World War III. And I thought, nah, that's just like one of them, you know, spell check things, and it's just spell checked it, and it's turned it from 3 to 3. So I searched up like Fat Electrician World War III, and it's not there. It is actually World War III. And okay, whatever. I've totally got to watch this. So here we are, my first time ever watching World War III, when apparently America nearly started World War III because of a tree. Like, oh, I don't even know what to expect.
Ah, yes, that time that North Korea told America that we couldn't trim a tree, and America was legitimately ready to start World War III about it. World War Tree, if you will.
Okay, so we're like 10 seconds in, and that has got to have been the craziest intro clip that I've heard so far. Like, there's a phrase, I'm willing to die on this hill, and Americans just take that to a whole new level. Like, totally willing to start a world war over a tree. Like, that's crazy. If Toby Keith was alive today, he would be saying, you better trim your tree because Uncle Sam's boot in your ass is bad for your health.
Today we're talking about the Korean axe murder incident and America's response to that incident, Operation Paul Bunyan. But first, this video is brought to you by the two biggest sponsors of the channel.
Yo, as always, we're going to watch the guy's advertisement because this is how he makes his money, and I don't want to take away from that. He's worked hard. He deserves this, so I'm leaving it in. I hope you can understand that. Thank you.
We've got Zydex custom gaming PCs, computers built right here in America with American-made tech support, and they have a lifetime warranty. They can build you anything you want to any spec you want, but also they have some that are already pre-built.
So this PC that I'm using right now is my first ever PC, to the point where I still type with 2 fingers. And it really limits me as to what I can do. That would be amazing one day.
And ready to ship. And then of course my favorite sporting goods store, Shields. They've got over 30 amazing retail locations all across the United States. I'm not just saying that because they're giving me money. It's legitimately the best sporting goods store I've ever set foot in. But if you don't live near one of the retail locations, they have—
I've never heard of this before. We don't have this in England.
An even better online store with price matching and satisfaction guaranteed. I'm gonna have links and discount codes for both those sponsors in the description down below and on my website, thefatelectrician.com. Let's get back to the video. All right, once upon a time, July 1953, North and South Korean leadership would meet in a small village known as Punjong, right—
Punjong? That sounds like a storage cupboard where Diddy keeps his baby oil.
Near the 38th parallel, where they would sign an armistice that would technically only pause, but essentially end the Korean War. From this moment forward, we have the official military demarcation line, essentially the line in the sand separating North and South Korea. Surrounding that demarcation line is a 2.5 mile wide, 160 mile long buffer zone known as the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. And that's pretty much it. The Iron Curtain goes up, North Korea becomes the world's largest secret society, and the entire world gets to stand by and watch as there is a competition between capitalism and communism to see which one is actually better, and well, 70 years later, the results are visible from outer space.
All right, so I'm just going to move my camera for this one because I just want you to see, like, in South Korea, that is a complete first world country with so many lights and everything at night. And then in North Korea, there's just no electricity on apart from in one city. That is insane to think about, the difference in lifestyle compared to just over one border. Why is Kim Jong spending all his money on his military when he should be supporting his people? This makes no sense to me.
Wait, let me guess. You're going to say that's not real communism. Well, I'll tell you what. Every time anything bad happens under capitalism, I'm just going to respond by saying, oh, well, that's not real capitalism. How about that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyways, that village where the treaty was signed would go on to become the JSA, or the Joint Security Area, and in theory, this was supposed to be the only point where North and South Korean forces could intermingle. The North Koreans could pass the armistice line into South Korea, and vice versa, provided everybody stayed within the confines of this particular village. Obviously, the point of having a place like this was so that everybody could have a place to exchange prisoners, have peace talks, what have you, but naturally, the intermingling of North Korean and UN forces over the course of time would lead to a bunch of fights breaking out. Luckily, they foresaw this coming, and there was very strict rules about having firearms inside of the JSA, and generally speaking, nobody really ever had them on them. Despite that, there was so many skirmishes so often that the UN would try to get North Korea to agree that they should still abide by the demarcation line. North Koreans stay on their half of the JSA, and South Korean and UN forces stay on their half of the JSA. North Korea consistently refused.
Okay, so as an Englishman, I'm not going to say my opinions on the UN, and I'm definitely not going to say my opinions on NATO. But North Korea not taking advice from outside? What a surprise!
And that's all the background info you need. So, fast forward, August 6, 1976. Inside the JSA, there's a bridge. That bridge is called the Bridge of No Return because once you cross that bridge, you not only cross the military demarcation line, but you also cross the border to the JSA, meaning that you are now inside of North Korea, hence the name, the Bridge of No Return. As you can see here on the JSA side of the bridge, there is military checkpoint 3. As I'm sure you can imagine, that's very important because, well, if the North Koreans are going to attack, they're probably going to incorporate that bridge somehow. They've got a military observation post right there. If the North Koreans are coming, they're going to send off the warning. Next thing you know, all of America knows that you're here.
Yo, this guy's memes are amazing. Notice how he said all of America knows you're here before he mentioned the UN. My guy.
All right, but the problem is right next to checkpoint 3, there's a big ass 100-foot high poplar tree, and that tree is blocking the vision from all the other checkpoints from being able to see checkpoint 3, meaning that in theory the North Koreans could invade, take out checkpoint 3, build up a big enemy force while using this tree as cover, and then take out the rest of the JSA. So this tree is a security issue. We got to get rid of it. Okay, so this is not a big deal whatsoever. That tree is inside the JSA. It's on the South Korean side, so it's technically in South Korea. So they send out some South Korean soldiers with some axes. They're going to go chop down this tree. That's going to be the end of it. No big deal whatsoever. Then the North Koreans show up being dicks, and they're like, no, you're not allowed to cut this tree down because we said so. That's why. And the South Koreans are like, what? Okay, well, I'm going to go get the Americans, and then we're going to come back, and then we're all going to cut down the tree together. Bye.
So in non-military terms, what South Korea just said was, fine, I'm going to go and get me dad, and he's going to totally kick your ass.
All right, fast forward a couple weeks, August 18th, 1976. This time, a 15-man working party comprised of Americans and South Koreans show up at this tree to cut it down. And once again, the North Koreans show up almost immediately. This time, there's 11 of them, and they are being led by an officer nicknamed the Bulldog because he is well known and has a reputation for starting shit inside the JSA and instigating a bunch of fights. He then proceeds to tell the Americans that they have to stop trimming that tree because that particular poplar tree was planted by none other than Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea. To which the Americans, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but they were like, oh really, did he? He planted this tree? Kim Il-sung, the same guy that you guys think invented the hamburger and the burrito, and the first time he ever golfed, he golfed a 38 under par with 11 hole-in-ones, and his body's so efficient that he doesn't have to use the bathroom because he doesn't generate waste. That guy, he planted this tree. I don't give a shit. So they turned around and kept cutting down this tree. So at this point, Officer Bulldog sends a runner across the Bridge of No Return into North Korea. A couple minutes later, 2 trucks show up with 30 more North Korean soldiers, and they all get out with clubs. At this point, Officer Bulldog tells the working party again, stop cutting down the tree or else. And the working party, under the impression they're not actually going to do anything, ignores them and just keeps cutting down the tree, at which point Officer Bulldog famously takes off his watch, wraps it in a handkerchief, sets it down, and yells, Chukyo, meaning kill in North Korean, at which point all of the soldiers attacked the members of the working party. Every member of the working party was injured, and 2 Americans were killed.
Oh, hey, I don't swear on this channel very often, but you know what? That was some of the dumbest shit you can do. You're gonna kill 2 American military personnel, right? Over a tree? You understand that these guys spend hundreds of billions just to retrieve one person back that's alive. Yo, I did not know people died in this. Like, yeah, you got messed up now, bro. Hey, your leader might not have a butthole, but he certainly needs to change his underwear once he finds out about this.
Shit has officially hit the fan. The entire US military is put on DEFCON 3, which is the highest level of readiness that the military can go to without actually being at war. The president and the Joint Chiefs of Staff are dragged into the bunker underneath the White House to begin getting briefed by the CIA, and North Korea is shitting its pants because a couple of their guys just may have kicked off World War III. Within 4 hours, the North Koreans issue a public statement trying to pin the entire thing on America, saying the Americans that were there instigated the entire thing, and it's their fault. Then North Korean leadership goes before the Non-Aligned Nations Committee, which for the purposes of this story, just think of it as like not NATO, here's the Non-Aligned Nations. You get the idea. They then try to pass a resolution that says they should all condemn America for our violent actions, and America needs to leave the Korean Peninsula altogether, and somehow this passes. At which point America basically looks over and says, that's nice that you guys passed a little rule, go ahead and try to enforce it, I dare you.
I don't even need to say anything. That's gangster. Like almost half of the world, and you're like, yeah, go right ahead. Try me. Yo.
Whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're gonna have to call the fucking United Nations. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker. I will massacre you.
I will massacre you.
I will fuck you up.
That Tropic Thunder clip was just absolute perfect timing for this situation.
Meanwhile, inside the president's bunker, all kinds of crazy ideas are getting thrown around, some of which include bombarding the entire DMZ with artillery fire, using Navy SEALs and precision-guided munitions to take out the North Korean barracks inside of the JSA, essentially killing all the North Koreans that had anything to do with this, destroying the Bridge of No Return, and my personal favorite, just dropping a nuclear bomb off the coast of North Korea just to prove a point. At this point, the president chimes in and he's like, no, this has to be an appropriate response. We don't want to overkill this situation and kick off World War III. So that begs the question, what is an appropriate response to the president? Well, that depends on the president, and the president at this particular time was none other than Gerald Ford. You see, that's absolutely terrifying, and most of you have no idea why, because Gerald Ford doesn't have much brand recognition in modern times, so let me fill you in. Gerald Ford played college football at the University of Michigan and had offers to go to the NFL from the Lions and the Green Bay Packers, and turned both of them down because he wanted to be a boxing coach at Yale before he went into law school to become a politician. Somewhere along the way, this guy becomes friends with Richard Nixon. Fast forward, he's ready to retire. His friend Richard Nixon is the president of the United States, and Richard Nixon's vice president, Spiro Agnew, gets accused of taking bribes and has to step down as vice president. At which point, Nixon calls up his old buddy and is like, hey, will you fill in as VP for me? So Gerald Ford, not wanting to let down his buddy, is like, sure, absolutely, I'll come be the vice president. So he serves as VP for a little bit, and then Watergate happens, Richard Nixon gets impeached, and Gerald Ford becomes the 38th president of the United States and the only president in American history that was never elected as VP or the president.
So that's your guy's only one who was never elected and somehow ended up president just because of some unfortunate circumstances. Well, I googled the same thing only for England, and we've had 15 in the same amount of time. 15 who were never elected by anybody. And yet somehow they managed to get into power. Oh, and I just want to add this in there. They all went to the same private school called Eton. Don't know what that has to do with anything, but hey, it's a thing.
And the first thing he does as president is he gives a presidential pardon to his buddy Richard Nixon, who just got impeached, so he can't go to prison. And this pisses off absolutely everybody. Left, right, middle, doesn't matter. Everybody is furious with Gerald Ford over this. There is a 0% chance that he is ever going to get reelected right out of the gate. All right, so just so we're all on the same page, President Gerald Ford, your traditional football playing, boxing, manly man that didn't want the job as president in the first place and has zero hopes of ever getting reelected, as well as having a history of being willing to sacrifice his personal image and the future of his career just to help out the homies. And we're going to find out what this man deems as an appropriate response. But one thing's for certain, and it is that poplar tree is absolutely coming down.
That's coming
Fast forward
down.
3 days later, August 21st, 7 a.m., a bunch of American and South Korean vehicles roll into the JSA, and Operation Paul Bunyan would officially begin.
You guys called it Operation Paul Bunyan. Like, yeah, so in Google it says Paul Bunyan is a legendary giant lumberjack and folk hero in North American folklore. Who picks the names of the missions? Because whoever it is, they need like a special award or at least a good job sticker.
Inside of those vehicles, there is a 16-man tree trimming crew, and they are being escorted by 2 platoons of American grunts, roughly 60 guys, all carrying axe handles and pistols, ready to teach the North Koreans a lesson if they decide they want to try to stop them again. Now, is there supposed to be 60 guys in the JSA carrying firearms? No, but they're just carrying pistols. It's the smallest gun Uncle Sam has to offer because America is trying very, very hard to be appropriate. Also, they brought a tank, which as you can see is basically a really small tank with a snowplow on the front and an enormous gun.
That's huge.
It's average, okay?
That's pretty pathetic.
Even if it is a little
She
bit on the
just
smaller
roasts
side of
him
average.
all the
A
time.
grain of rice can tip the scale.
And if that wasn't enough, they're also being backed up by 64 Black Berets, the South Korean Special Forces guys, one of which would actually go on to be the president of South Korea, Moon Jae-in. Okay, here's the deal with the Black Berets. As a minimum requirement, every single one of them has to be a black belt in Taekwondo. And I know what you're thinking. My nephew got a black belt in Taekwondo from the YMCA when he was like 13 years old. Big deal, okay? I realize it's the same word. Trust me, it's not the same thing. These guys could kick the shit out of your nephew.
Kick the shit out of your nephew. There's a sentence.
And the best part of all is the Taekwondo's not even going to come into play because as all the vehicles pull up, the 16-man tree trimming crew runs out, they start cutting down the tree, the Americans get out with their pistols and their axe handles, the South Koreans pull up, they get out, and they start unstrapping something from the bottom of their vehicles. Against the orders of their president, they had all snuck in M16s, grenade launchers, crew-served weapons, anti-tank weapons, and some of them even had claymores strapped to their chest.
Okay, I don't think that was the agreement.
The South Korean Special Forces has officially come to party. At this point, they're looking over at the Americans like, really? You guys brought axe handles and pistols? What are you doing, playing fucking Jenga? At this point, the Americans are like, hey, I appreciate the effort. You guys are awesome. That's great. But here's the deal. The only thing better than breaking the rules and getting away with it is not having to break the rules and still getting away with it. AKA, you just gotta find that loophole and make them make
you gotta
new
play
rules later
smart.
because they didn't know that was an option. You see, they told us we can't have guns in the JSA. They didn't say anything about
Okay, this is where we're about to find out the loophole that America has found, created, or just went for it anyway.
above the JSA. Because circling overhead, there is 20 Huey utility helicopters, and on those helicopters is an entire company of American infantry, roughly 120 19-year-old athletic alcoholics with machine guns, and as soon as those helicopters touch down, they are ready to get out and start kicking ass. But here's the deal with that, it wouldn't be appropriate to send out a bunch of utility helicopters without a security escort, so they're being accompanied by 7 Cobra attack helicopters.
Why
and
not?
just in case that's not enough, above that there is somewhere between 12 and 20 B-52 Strato Fortresses that just got in from Guam that are now doing hot laps around the entire demilitarized zone, each of which is carrying like 70,000 pounds worth of bombs, some of which were allegedly nuclear warheads. In addition to that, there's an entire fighter squadron of American F-4 Phantoms that just got in from Okinawa, and a bunch of South Korean F-5s, as well as a bunch of American F-111s that just got in from Idaho. In addition to that, there's roughly 10,000 troops on standby just inside the South Korean border, ready to run in if they're needed. And on top of that, there's another 12,000 troops already en route to South Korea, just in case. Oh, and now the USS Midway, a fucking aircraft carrier, and her entire security detail are parked off the North Korean coast.
Talk about overkill. Like, they thought they were great just because they pulled a couple of like machine guns from underneath the truck and the Americans only had a handgun. Like, It turns out Americans didn't need the handgun, okay? Because if you just look up, you'll be able to realize that the greatest military power in the world has got your back right now. Like, I would walk in there with nothing but an axe to cut down the tree and still feel safe. Like, what are you gonna do now? As a country, if you see this happening on your border over a tree, like, what are you gonna do now? There's nothing you can do. Like, there's nothing you... That is the most overkill thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, full send. Hundreds upon hundreds of billions spent just to show of force. Like, that is literally it. You are not going to get away with this. You took 2 Americans out. Biggest mistake of your entire life. Now, now this is the bit where your country has an option. They either go down fighting, okay? And when I say go down, I mean go down, right? Or you just completely back up and say, hey, you guys win this one. You guys win this one. Hey, that is the most overkill ever. But hey, it's America. You don't do things by half measures. All right, full send. Damn, man. Wow.
And all of this was done in the span of 3 days. America has probably just conducted the greatest showing of force ever, and turned this poplar tree into the largest game of fuck around and find out in human history. Cut back to the men on the ground. Operation Paul Bunyan has been going on for approximately 5 minutes. The 5 longest minutes in human history of an entire army watching 16 dudes trim a tree, and not a single sign of a North Korean anywhere. Which is really weird. Normally they would have been here by now. What is going on?
Oh, so now they're not turning up. Gee, I wonder why. You just like brought the greatest military power, the biggest show of force ever. Somehow miraculously, they're just not there. I wonder why.
At this point, the American leadership comes to the realization that the North Koreans know exactly what's going on. There's a 0% chance that they don't, and they have decided that their best option is to not show up at all, and then later on, they're going to play it off like they had no idea the entire thing actually happened, making it appear as though America's show of force was not that big of a deal. At this point, the American leadership takes a deep breath, and they're like, okay, we have to keep this appropriate. We're the bigger people in this. That's a great PR move by the North Koreans. Doesn't matter. We know what we did. We know what we accomplished. And that should be enough. I'm just kidding. The American leadership immediately sent a transmission to the North Koreans telling them that they were there for, and I quote, to finish the work left unfinished.
You guys literally sent them a message to say, hey, we're busy roasting you right now, and there's nothing you can do about it. Hey man, that's so gangster, man. It's so gangster. You're not gonna let them get away making a story or a narrative or anything like that. You are genuinely like, hey, world, look at this. No one can stop us. Like, hey, that's cool, man.
Now, the North Korean frontline communications just go absolutely nuts. We know this because American intelligence was monitoring their frontline communications, and one of the intel analysts that was listening said, and I quote, "This move blew their fucking minds." At this point, the North Koreans are absolutely terrified, but they have to do something because they've got way too much pride not to. So, all of the North Korean troops in the immediate area are ordered to go to the Bridge of No Return. Within a matter of minutes, a bunch of trucks pull up on the other side of the Bridge of No Return, and 150 North Korean soldiers get out, and they proceed to stand there and watch silently for what I presume to be the longest 35 minutes of their entire lives.
There ain't no way that wasn't the longest 35 minutes of their entire life. Do you understand all of the things? Did you see how long it took him to list everything that was flying above, or the battleships at the I'll send 100 troops to watch the bridge. It's not even close, man. It's not even close. Like, you couldn't do anything even if you want to. You literally just sent the 100 people there just to be a crowd. Like, they might as well have just started clapping for the Americans. Like, hey, you're doing a good job for the tree. Would you like a hand? I'll help you if you like.
as they watch the Americans finish cutting down this tree. And that's pretty much it. The Americans finished trimming this tree. They left a big ass stump there, so the North Koreans never ever forgot about it.
Forget
and then
it.
once that stump rotted away, they put a plaque there in honor of the 2 soldiers that lost their lives, Lieutenant Mark Barrett and Captain Arthur Boniface.
Respect.
North Korea was then also ordered to pay reparations to their family members. In addition to that,
Did
the
they
North
pay it?
Koreans issued a statement saying the entire situation was regrettable, which according to the experts is the closest thing to an apology that you will ever get out of the North Koreans. And
So
then
far.
to absolutely everybody's surprise, on August 25th, the North Koreans come back to the negotiating table and they're like, hey, remember that idea you guys have had for like the last 20 years where you wanted to split the JSA in half to separate North and South Korean forces so a bunch of dumb shit didn't happen?
You changed
yeah,
your
we
mind
think
now.
we'd finally like to do that. So
You
yeah,
changed
in
your mind
conclusion,
now.
I guess this has been the story about how World War III almost got started by a tree. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at the Fat
How's the tree doing nowadays?
Clack bang.
Yeah, I'll
out.
go and order some of this guy's stuff. He deserves it, man. The work he
These
puts
military
in.
operation ones keep getting weirder and weirder. I should probably talk about that time that America accidentally turned a manhole cover into the fastest man-made object of all time.
Oh, I
because
know
they
that
yeeted
one.
it into outer space with a nuclear warhead.
I know that one. Yo. Alright, so talk about overkill. You guys went full send, all in, show of force. I mean, the people on the ground, they just had the handguns, but like, you had everything else there. That's absolutely amazing. Like, you do not do things by half measures. Like, what's the famous saying, right? The only way to be sure you have peace is to make sure that you've got a bigger stick than the other guy. Now, I might be saying that wrong, but you get the idea, right? And you certainly showed that you got a bigger stick. And I did say stick before anyone assumes I said something else, right? But also, another random information to finish the video. It turns out in England, we have 1.5 billion trees. And there is multiple trees at the end of my street. So if you, as America, decide, you know what, maybe we want to do something else with a tree, my street, where I live, please, 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 okay? I can't put that in the video. Hey, it has been an absolute pleasure. This guy is an amazing storyteller. Guy is very talented what he does. Please, if you're not, I think you all already are, but if you're not subscribed to this guy, go and check him out. I highly recommend it. Please keep the recommendations coming. I'm not going to do Fat Electrician videos all of the time because that's his stuff and stuff like that. But I am going to do some more, hopefully. There was one I seen about like Waffle House and stuff, and we don't have one of those over here on the Fat Files and stuff. I would like to watch that. There's a couple other things I would like to react to. And I have some other things coming up, and hopefully you'll enjoy them all. Thank you so much just for even being here. It has been an absolute pleasure, and again, I can't believe I hit 40,000. I don't know what my goal should ever be. That's why I only increase it by just a small amount every time, because just seeing it go up by one is amazing. So thank you so very much. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and enjoying your week. Much love and God bless to all of you. Thank you so much for being here.